countryside. Now the company becomes a diwan. Okay. So what is a diwan? We'll learn first. On 12th of August 1765, the company became a diwan. Robert Clive's tent, a few Englishmen took majestic occasion in it, and painter paints Clive lives. Okay, as the diwan, the company became a financial administration of the territory under the control. Now it had administrating power and resources as well. Okay. Over the years, the company also learned to move with some caution, being an Indian power to pacify those who in the past had ruled the countryside also enjoyed authority and prestige. So the Zamindars also enjoyed authority and prestige. So revenue of the company had become a divan, but it still saw itself as primarily as a trader. So it had become the divan, but then it saw itself as a trader. Okay, so regular system of assessment and collection was there. Okay, to buy fine cotton and silk as cheaply as possible was there. Okay, value of goods bought by the company in Bengal doubled. Okay, therefore Indians were going poorer day by day. So soon in Bengal economy was facing a deep crisis, deserting villages since they saw the forced to sell the goods to the company at the Bengal was unable to pay the dues. This was a collapse. 10 million now. Sorry. Okay.
ওটাই তো বলছি নিজের একটা ছোট্ট একটা ফোন না নিলে না সব কাজ এরকম করেই যাবে
A terrible famine killed 10 million people in Bengal. One third of the population perished.
আমাকে সঠিকটা জানবে
So the need of improve agriculture. So now after the famine, they said that after 2 decades of debate on the question, the company
power to think, create, solve problems.
So then the problem so they started to solve problems. Okay, now the problem permanent settlement created problems. The British, anyone who failed to pay the revenue lost his zamindari. Okay, first half of the 19th century, the situation changed. The price in the market rose and civilization slowly expanded. Okay, so prices were rising every time, but the revenue demand was fixed. When the zamindars did not have interest in improving the land. Okay, some had lost their land in early areas of the settlements. Others now saw the possibility of earning without the trouble and risk of investment. As long as the zamindar could give out land to the tenants and get rent, they were not interested in improving the land. Okay, so as you see, they were charged huge amounts of money, and so they obviously they will look for their money only first, how to pay the revenue, not to look after the land with lots of money. Then on the other hand, the village, the cultivators were the system extremely oppressive. So the rent he paid to the vendor was high, and his right on the land was insecure. Okay, he was insecure that once he failed to pay the rent, he will be gone. So a new system was devised. Now the northwestern provinces of the Bengal Presidency. See, an Englishman Holt Mukesh devised a new system that came into effect. He felt that the social institutions in the North Indian society need to be preserved. So what he went from the collectors went from village to village, inspecting the lands and measuring the fields and customs and rights of different groups. Okay, they added and calculated the revenue in which the village had to be paid. This demand was to revise periodically and not permanently fixed. Okay, Mundo system. The British territories in the south, there was a similar move idea of permanent settlement. So what did they do? They sent the riot war. Okay, and the red and the moon. So they saw that in the north there were zamindars, but in the south there were no zamindars. Okay, so what did they do? They made the cultivators. Okay, tilled the land for generations. Okay, their field had to be carefully and separately surveyed before the revenue assessment was made. Okay, all was not well. Within the few years when the new system imposed, it was clear was not drive by the desire to increase income from the land, the revenues of riots fixed too high a revenue demand. Okay, unable to pay, the riots fled to the countryside, and the villages become deserted in many regions. Now, next, crops for Europe. The British also realized that they lead to yield revenue and what did they do then? They started the cultivation of opium and indigo. Okay, now this pursued in jute in Bengal, tea in Assam, sugarcane in United Provinces, now Uttar Pradesh, wheat in Punjab, and cotton in Maharashtra and Punjab. Rice in Madras. How was this done? Now, does color have a history? Now see, there were two prints used, red rich blueprint commonly called the indigo. Now see, this kalamkari was created by the people of Andhra Pradesh in India. On right, it was a floral cotton print designed and produced by the William Morris, a famous poet and artist of the 19th century. See, now this rich blue color was commonly known as indigo. The blue that you see in the print was produced from a plant called indigo. Okay, it is likely that the blue dye used in the Morris paintings in the 19th century Britain was manufactured from indigo plants cultivated in India. India was the biggest supplier of indigo. Why the demand of Indian indigo? Power to think, create. My God. Okay, so cloth dyers was also going from in the form of indigo. French began cultivating indigo in Saint Domingue in the Caribbean islands. Okay, and then English in Jamaica and French in Venezuela. By the end of the 18th century, the demand for indigo rose further. They began to industrialize themselves. Okay, and therefore, what happened generally? They just tried to earn revenue. Okay, now Britishers turned to India. Why? Because indigo was meant to be made in the tropical climate countries. So 95% of indigo was gone from India. Now, how was indigo cultivated? Two systems, niche and Rioti. Okay, under the niche system, planters produced indigo in lands that he directly controlled. Okay, he either bought the land or rented it from the other zamindars and produced indigo by directly employing hired laborers. Now, what was the problem with this niche cultivation? Planters found it very difficult to expand the land under the niche cultivation. Indigo could be cultivated only on fertile lands that were already densely populated. Planters needed large lands in compact blocks. Okay, they attempted to seize the land, nor was the labor easy to mobilize. A large plantation required a vast number of hands to operate. Okay, niche cultivation was a large scale. Also, many plows and blocks. 1 bighas of indigo cultivation required 202 plows. 1,000 bighas would need 2,000 plows. So, investing on the purchase and maintaining the plows was not a big problem. Okay, because everything had a high price. Now, indigo under the land of the riots. Under the riot system, riots need to sign the contract. Okay, at times pressurized the village headman to sign the contract on behalf of the riots. Those who signed the contract got cash advances from the planters at low rate interests. But the loan committed the riots to cultivate just to sow soil, sow and seeds and look after their own crop. So the crop was delivered to a planter after a harvest, and a new loan was given to the riot, and the cycle was over and over again. Peasants were initially tempted by the loans. Power to think, create. So the peasants who initially were tempted by the riot soon realized how harsh the system was. The price they got for indigo they produced was very low, and the cycle of loans never ended. Okay, so then the Blue Rebellion they had. Okay, so what is the Blue Rebellion? Thousands of riots in Bengal refused to grow indigo. Okay, the rebellion started. They refused to pay rents to the planters and attacked the indigo factories also. So what happened? They were socially boycotted indigo. Why did the indigo peasants decide that they would no longer remain silent? Because it was a loss for them. They couldn't eat only. In 1859, the Indigo Riots felt that they had support of the local zamindars because they were also at loss. Okay, so everyone rose. Okay, with lathials and etc. The zamindars were unhappy with the increasing power of the planters and angry had been forced by the planters to give them long leases. Now, what did the government do? Let's see that the Riyadh saw the tour as a sign of government sympathy when in Barasat. The Asli then issued a notice stating that the Riots were not compelled to accept the India contract and word went to when Queen Victoria had declared that indigo need to not be sown. Okay. Eden was trying to press the prisons and control an explosive situation, but his action was read to in support of the rebellion. So as the rebellion spread, what happened? The intellectual of India in Calcutta rushed to the Indigo district. Okay, they wrote the misery of the Indigos, tyranny of the planters, and the horrors of the Indigo system. Worried by the rebellion, the government brought the military and protect the planters from the assault. Okay, so everyone could have easily beaten them. So, you know what did they do? They everyone could have, but then they brought military campaigns and stopped everything. So it collapsed in Bengal, Bihar, and etc. Mahatma Gandhi returned from South India by that time. The prisoners of Bihar persuaded him to visit the Champaran and the plight of the indigo cultivators there. Mahatma Gandhi's visit in 1917 marked the beginning of the Champaran movement against the indigo planters.